Welcome to the News4SA.com Spurs Roundtable, powered by Project Spurs. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, and today we're going to start looking into the future. What is the upcoming season going to be looking like for the Spurs in the 2013-14 NBA season? Talk about that and a lot more. I am joined by Paul Garcia of ProjectSpurs.com and Aaron Preine of ProjectSpurs.com. We call him the king of all media on Project Spurs. This guy does it on the podcast, here on TV, so we're good. But guys, can you hear the squeaking of the sneakers already, the swishing of the basket? It's about that time. The Spurs open camp later on this month. They'll be playing, well, holding camp in Colorado. But you know what? There's kind of a little bit of concerns heading into this season. I think the biggest concern right now is Tony Parker. Paul.
Yeah, Tony Parker, it would be a main concern because of the amount of minutes he's playing right now with Team France over in the FIBA Eurobasket. So there's a lot of concern with those guys. You know, he's playing, those games are 40 minutes, and he's playing almost 30, 35 minutes a night with those teams. And a lot of times they just have one day in between. And then even a guy like Marco Belinelli, who's with Italy, he's playing back-to-back-to-back sequences. So, you know, by the time Tony's actually playing right now, it's a Sunday in the gold medal game against Lithuania. So by the time he gets done, he's going to have literally maybe 6 days off to rest and get ready for training camp. But then you got to keep in mind he has to fly back to America, you know, get everything situated. So there's not going to be a lot of rest for these guys. You know, they're just going to jump right into Spurs training camp as soon as this.
And not to mention, too, R.C. Buford even was on record saying, Tony, back up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, during the offseason, a lot of Spurs fans were wondering why the Spurs weren't really going aggressively after solidifying the 3 spot behind Kawhi Leonard. And why there were rumors of Sebastian Telfair and Mike Bibby coming in, supposedly going to have a spot in the training camp. And it's because even though they like Cory Joseph as the backup, and he really earned that role, they're really concerned about the long-term health of Tony Parker over this next season.
Now, he is the youngest of the big 3, but he's looking on the other side of 30 already. So is it going to be more maybe under the spotlight, Joseph, Nando, and Mills? Are they going to be really heavy in the spotlight?
I think Cory Joseph specifically. I think as Aaron said, he's earned his spot as the backup point guard, and he really showed progress in the FIBA Americas. I mean, he was,
and not to mention the Summer League as well.
The Summer League as well. I mean, but the FIBA Americas, 17 points a game leading Canada. They didn't have the ending that they quite wanted, but I think Cory, if he can just take on that, do what he was doing overseas in the Summer League and bring that off those 13, 12 minutes off the bench every night in San Antonio, I think he would put a lot more. Pop would have a lot more trust in him as far as letting Tony rest a little bit more.
And Mills is a known quantity, whereas Nando is still a lot of unknown. He had his Summer League action wasn't that great. France, he was up and down a lot.
Well, he's saying, too, that he's using this summer as a way to prove himself next year. He seems pretty motivated.
He's got a very short amount of time to prove that he's an NBA player, because the Spurs, the window it's almost closed. And Nando is an asset that could be moved to bring in another piece to make the Spurs a better team.
Paul?
Yeah, he's playing. I know that before he left, he says that Summer League they're going to try him out at the 2-guard position as a backup off the bench, and he's kind of doing that with Team France right now. He's a 6th man coming off the bench, and as he's been really inconsistent. He hasn't really had great games out there.
But I want to go back to Tony Parker. I know that's the biggest concern, his health, because the Spurs go as he goes. Let's be honest about it. But this isn't something new for. This isn't new for him. He's played before long summers and jumped into the NBA season. He did it last year, and he was an MVP candidate at one point.
Yeah, but he broke down really fast at the end of the season, and then it also began to build up in the postseason. We saw it in the finals. He wasn't quite himself in those final couple of games. It's a lot easier. Yeah, he's the youngest of the big 3, but the older you get, the more miles you put on his body, because he's been a professional player for a very long time.
Remember, 19 years old is when he came into the NBA.
And playing before that.
Yeah.
One thing about this team is I remember the last 2 years covering them is that after games when they lose, a lot of times the same comments come from the players is, we ran out of gas. It's just a nightly kind of thing, but the playoffs are not going to say that, but a lot of times they do actually say, we ran out of gas, we ran out of gas. So this is a team that needs the rest, needs the health, but it could catch up to them. We'll see how it goes.
It's not so much about running out of gas, it's whether or not it breaks down. So that's the big concern.
Right. Well, aside from Tony and the usuals, there are some new faces that are going to be in black and silver this coming season. Is that also a little concern too? These new guys, Belinelli, Jeff Ayers now, meshing with the team, or is it a non-factor?
I think that there's going to be a little bit of they have those 10 or 20 games to get under their belt, but I think Belinelli is the kind of guy who's not necessarily wants to score all the time. He's a good guy who wants to just run the offense, get everybody in motion. He can play several spots on the floor. I think that he's going to be a guy. They play that kind of international type of pace anyway. Belinelli does. Jeff Ayers, I think he'll just take minimal minutes off the bench every now and then, but I think Belinelli's really going to just come in and not be too much of a.
Aaron, they say it takes about 2 seasons to get the Spurs system down.
That's a long time ago. It's a little bit different now, and I think Belinelli he had a really good couple of seasons when he was playing with Chris Paul in New Orleans, and I think under Tom Thibodeau his defensive game has gotten a little bit better. He doesn't get enough credit there, and with the player formerly known as Pendergraft. I think he's actually a little bit underrated because he's a decent rebounder. He's a good defender. He likes to put the work in. He's got a good mid-range shot, and he's excited to be with the Spurs. So I think him solidifying that 4 spot is going to help the Spurs in the long run.
This is something that's been going on my mind a little bit, and it is a little bit of a concern for me. I would actually rank it right below TP, and that is the team's mindset. Heading into the new season after coming so close to capturing title number 5. They look, in the interviews you hear overseas, in Eurobasket, Popovich recently, it looks like it's still weighing on their mind. Is this going to be fuel or is this going to be a hindrance? That's actually it's more of a we don't know how they're going to handle it kind of thing because I don't think they've ever faced this kind of adversity going into a season. Pop, especially the main guy at the helm, he's the one who's saying I've every day of the summer I've never been able to not think about Game 6. So it's going to be really a really tough mental grind this year. It's going to be fun to see how they handle it, how they handle that adversity.
I think with the makeup of people who are on this, not only this team but the whole franchise, from the front office to trainers to coaches, I think that their mentality is we want more. They were so close. And a lot of those people on the players on the team did not have that championship experience in 2007 and older.
And I get what you're saying, and this is not. I understand what's the old attitude? The big 3 are there and Pop is there. They should be fine, but their attitude this summer. It's been mixed. I get this feeling like it's almost like they're still heartbroken.
You see the fire. I mean, Pop, Tim Duncan working out with Jesse James Leha, bringing other players, and so the fire's there. They're getting ready for this new season. But then, as you said, there's that mental part of it. It's how do we lose that? They're still I think they're going to still keep having glances of last season in there. But maybe hitting the court is just going to change the whole mindset.
That's true.
The leadership will step up. That desire and that aggression will come to the front. And the younger players will follow by example as they did in the last season. And there'll be another successful season, and I don't think it's going to be a hindrance. It's going to motivate them. Whether or not the big engines of the team can stay healthy and keep that team afloat, I think that's the bigger worry.
If they stay healthy, they're going to finish as one of the top teams next year going into the playoffs. So
then
as long as they stay healthy, I think even with all this mental grind and things like that, I think there's still the team is there. Tim Duncan's going to show up every night. Tony Parker. Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard's getting better this year. So,
all right. Well, aside from the obvious from the new players, so what is really going to be the big difference between last season and this upcoming season?
I think less questions about the front court. I think getting Blair out and bringing in someone like Pendergraft was a really smart move, and also it solidifies that locker room a little bit more.
I just think there's more depth overall on the team. Cory Joseph, he stepped up he's progressed now. Marco Belinelli's coming in. Even Kawhi Leonard's going to have part of the offense now. So that's going to be a total. I think offensively you're going to see a lot more different schemes offensively, and also defensively. As you said, Ayer's going to bring some of that punch off the bench.
And I think Kawhi, we're going to see a little bit more offensive aggression, even though his offseason was primarily a rest. I think you're going to see the Spurs run a lot more through Kawhi.
And that's kind of been one of the more underrated things in the offseason that Spurs fans really haven't been talking about. Kawhi Leonard is resting. He declined to participate with Team USA's camp in Vegas. He literally said, I want to rest. So that is kind of one of those things that needs to be put in the forefront right now, because a healthy Kawhi Leonard, what they said last time, that he has not really been 100% since he came into the NBA.
That's right. And I think it's also great that it shows that he sees the big picture. It's not about immediate personal goals and whatnot. He sees the end game. He's looking at that next championship run at the end of next season, and it starts this summer.
Even guys like Tiago Splitter and Danny Green. I mean, Danny Green knew that once you shut him down, you lock him up. He's probably going to work on going off the ball a little bit this year. And then Tiago obviously took off the summer as well to get rest.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, another big thing. So and Manu Ginobili as well did not participate with Team Argentina. But those are some of our concerns and our, I guess, thoughts heading into the upcoming season. But go ahead and go out to news4sa.com. Leave your thoughts on the upcoming season, as well as go out to ProjectSpurs.com. Tell us what you think about the upcoming season as well. But this is just like the first installment of what probably is going to be a few other season previews before well, Game 1 kicks off with the new season. So stay tuned for us and, of course, news4sa.com. But for Paul Garcia, Aaron Preine, I am Jeff Garcia. Thanks again for watching the News4SanAntonio.com Spurs Roundtable.